Culture shock time, and we're going to start with an interesting story. A survey done in the UK by a consumer group. It found that single women are apparently happier being single than men are, especially women who are older than 45. This was done by the group Mintel, and here are the numbers. 61% of women in the UK who were surveyed said they felt great about being single, while only 49% of men felt the same way. So what do we think about this? Are women actually happier being single than men? Let's bring in our culture shockers who are standing by. In Montreal, we've got Jason Rockman. In Los Angeles, we've got Andrea Lewis. And from Toronto, we are joined by Lauren Mercervi. Lauren, let me start with you. What do you think?
I think it's an interesting question because I think it's very individual. It's the gender sort of tilt, and it doesn't really matter as much to me as much as the person who you're asking. I mean, I recently got married, so I don't know if I'm totally the person to answer whether or not I'm happier being single or not single. But I think that it depends very much on the culture of where the person is from, on the changing dynamics of how gender is viewed in that culture, and just sort of how the person feels like they personally thrive in their own life.
Andrea Lewis, what do you think?
I have to agree with a lot of what Lauren said. I think it's also interesting, like saying the specific age group of the women. I know for a lot of my friends who are late 20s into early 30s, I think the survey would kind of skew a lot of different ways. Some of them are very happy being single and some of them are really not. But I do see women kind of adapt to just like their life and their goals change and all of that kind of thing. So I can also see if you were single for a while and as you're getting older, you probably would be happier because your lifestyle now just feels better.
Jason, you know, surveys come and surveys go, and we know that, so we got to be careful with this kind of stuff. But if we assume this is true, do you think there's a reason why guys have more difficulty being single than girls do, men versus women?
I can only talk from my own personal experiences, and I know that I'm happily married. It's been I've been with my wife for almost 8 years now, and I'd be lost without her. I don't even know how to access my bank account. I mean, I just kind of take my Visa and my bank card around, and I just know there's money somewhere. She runs our household, and we're a very equal opportunity couple. We're very gender equal, but she just helps in all the areas that I'm not good at. So we're a great partnership. And I think that's what it takes today to have a good relationship, is to realize each other's strengths and weaknesses and work together as a team. I just think there's too many people that are selfish out there. And I think a lot of women are probably saying, you know what, I don't want to shack up with some dude or some woman who's not going to be equal in our relationship. And it takes a partnership. It really, really does.
All right, let's move on. This one is out of Vancouver. This is an interesting story about distracted driving, sort of taken to the nth degree. Traffic officers faced with a strange sight, pulling over a driver wearing headphones, and they saw this. Check it out. There was not only a smartphone, but also a tablet attached to the steering wheel, an iPad there, and also the phone. The guy was given an $81 ticket for failing to produce a driver's license. And that was it. Okay, let me start with you, Andrea Lewis, on this one. First of all, what do you think about that picture?
I thought the picture was scary, honestly. I'm surprised that they only gave him an $81 ticket. Like, I would actually think that it should be a lot larger of an amount. That is so dangerous and so distracting. Seeing something like that, it just scares me and makes me think like, oh my gosh, is this what the next generation of drivers is like coming up, or people right now? Like, it's frightening.
If we can show that picture one more time, there's actually 3 different screens because he's got the tablet and the smartphone, and you can see there's actually sort of a display already built into the car, or sort of an add-on there, a GPS kind of mapping system as well. What do you think about this, Lauren?
I got to be honest with you. I think this guy's brilliant. I think that's one of the funniest things that I've seen in a really long time. I mean, I'm kind of hoping that it's more of like an art display more than an actual thing that's happening. But yeah, of course, the guy should have been ticketed. It's a very, very distracting thing, and it's a really dumb thing to do on the road. But I mean, come on, how can you not laugh at that? You have to give the guy points for invention at the very least.
Yeah, there we go. And Jason, the officer deciding that education was the better tool here to use as opposed to a $500 ticket. What's your take?
I don't know, man. In my experience, being on this planet for 46 years, the only way to educate someone is to hit them in their pocket because that's where they're going to feel it. And I think that guy got off really, really easy. What an idiot. I mean, who does that on a steering wheel? And it's all fun and dandy. And yes, it's funny and it makes for a great, fluffy piece. But, you know, when your kid is crossing the road and that guy's on his tablet and he hits your kid, it's not going to be as funny. I think it's really stupid.
All right, the last one for us has to do with, and this some people might find jaw-dropping. Speaking of money, Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi painting has sold for more than $450 million US. The painting billed as the final Leonardo work held in private hands. A record-breaking bid came about 20 minutes or so into the auction. I'm going to start with you, Jason, on this one, because, of course, there's a lot of conversations about this, whether anybody should be spending that kind of money on a piece of art when you think about what they could have spent the money on, for example, charity. Your take.
Listen, if someone's bidding on a painting and has that much money to bid on that painting, if I was in that position, I would probably already be donating a lot to charities. But if I was in a position to drop that on the painting, it's probably a really wise investment. Let's be honest. Leonardo da Vinci, one of the greatest painters of our lifetime and of our consciousness. So it's a wise investment. It sounds like a lot of money, but whoever bought that definitely has the disposable income. Yes, it's always nice to think of doing the right thing, but no, that was a smart investment. Sorry, I have to call that as a good move.
There were about 45 different bids coming in here, Andrea Lewis, and I want to get your read on this. Do you think this makes sense? Do you think this is ridiculous?
I mean, when I heard the amount, I was like in shock that somebody has that kind of money to drop on something to be at an auction, and that like there's other people there too. So I'm gonna just hope and be optimistic that the kind of person who does have the type of money to do something like that also does just naturally give, probably in many other areas of their life. Because I mean, that's crazy, but like, good for them, because that would have been really exciting to witness. I would have been in shock to see it. So, yeah.
Lauren, what do you think? $450 million.
If I had $450 million to spend on a painting, I would spend $450 million on this painting specifically. If you look into the history of it as well, it was owned by Charles I at one point. It is a massive historical piece. I agree that it is something of an investment. And on top of that, it's a spectacular piece of art. You know, we talk a lot about people needing to donate to charities. And yes, of course, it's so easy for us to say that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is an individual's business themselves as to what they do with their money and what they don't. And I don't think you can really say, oh, yes, this person has to dedicate all this money to charity. I mean, of course, hopefully they do. But that's not really something for us to judge.
Great to have the three of you on today. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.